Hello, I'm Lee from Public Administration. I will start with my presentation with democracy. Democracy is a system in which the sovereignty of the state resides in the people and conduct politics for the people, or an idea towards such politics. But I redefine democracy. It is the faint end of constant dialogue to resolve conflict in civil society and avoid extreme confrontation. And the government should be a pillar of citizens. The meaning of this sentence is an at least attempt at dialogue, and also believes that the solution to the conflict can be defined as vague because there is no perfect. I have focused on three policies which is Korean government put into practice is that individual autonomy, voting policy, and disaster income. To begin with, South Korean entrusted to individual autonomy instead of nationalism. KCDC tried every means to use rapid and large-scale inspection to find infected persons. Rapid and accessible to give information using text, internet, etc. Also, the social distinction were also left to the people autonomy, except for self-isolation people. Secondly, the government's anti-virus voting policy that minimalized physical contact also worked well, and the will of the people has brought about the realization of the value of democracy. Lastly, the disaster income should understand as aim for economic equality as well as political equality, and it provides everyone can compete in equal condition in capitalist market economy. I have seen a German article it may seem too exaggerated to say that democracy is being eaten up by fear, but I didn't make it up. And what is German worry about? With access to location tracking information linked to personal cell phone. Patient movement tracking is violation for basic rights. However, in South Korea, there's not much criticism that is threaten democracy over the state's response to the corona crisis, because the government ruled as a control tower in this crisis, and the sentiment of putting growth before individuals in Korea and other Asian countries. Democracy of the present and the future. The president works well alone doesn't mean the country will develop, and no matter how well the National Assembly cooperates with the government, everything is useless if the private sector doesn't have the ability to execute. Meanwhile, in the global crisis, if people overstate their basic rights, they will lose the initiative to control and respond to the whole situation, and lose multiple lives while taking care of their basic rights. Thank you.